This one's from Just Another Red Shirt. This is a good one.
Yeah, it's good.
I don't agree.
How did y'all feel about the growth of Q's character, if any, in this episode? Also, 2 thumbs up for cigars and a mariachi band on the bridge. That was great. The ending was great. The pulling up the women, first for Riker, then Worf, and then pulling up the cigars into Picard and Riker's mouth. That was a great ending for sure. And I appreciate with both his arrival and his exit, they're keeping it fresh every time. It's not every single episode his net has come up or whatever that thing was, right? Yeah, like it's been different. And again, I think Q-Who was the best one so far of Picard just walking in and then it's the shuttlecraft and it's him. This wasn't that level, but it was funny, just something different. He shows up naked, and then he leaves with a mariachi band and the cigars and everything. So I like that they're keeping that fresh.
Yeah, it does make sense how he's naked because he chose to be a human, so he's like human. Just human, it's like he doesn't get to pick his own clothes because that's what he does. He always puts himself in the captain's uniform with the four little pips or whatever. Like, it's always the captain. I love that.
As far as his growth, I think we already talked about it. But
I love that. Yeah.
Just to separate, because this will be a different episode for YouTube. I thought the growth was really good. As a matter of fact, it was the strongest part of the episode and one of the few things I really enjoyed about it. So really did enjoy that. I just wish there was. We don't necessarily need more growth. Like, I think we got plenty of growth, but more just let John Delancey just steal the scenes. Because when you do, he's great.
How does this stack up against the other Q episodes you've seen so far? It's a fun episode. Better than the one where he tries to tempt Riker anyway. Guinan sticking him with the fork is my favorite part. Yes, I want to bring up that ending where Guinan sticks him with the fork. Because Q, in his omnipotence, wouldn't even think to move or dodge anything, right? So he's just like, watches Guinan just grab this fork. He's just like, because he wasn't expecting any pain like that. Up to that point, I don't even know if he had back pain yet. Remember?
Yeah, I don't think so. I can't remember the exact order, but yeah, I think you're right.
Geordi just commanding Q, just running the ship down there in engineering. Love to see it.
And he's like, get on there or get the hell out of here. Yeah. That was good.
Captain Geordi.
Real quick, I want to ask you, did you the entire episode think he was telling the truth and didn't have his powers? Was there any point where you thought maybe he was lying or tricking me?
There was a few moments where Q really dropped his ah voice and really was very genuine in what he was saying. I'm like, I believe him. There's a few moments where he did that because whenever Q talks, it's always that same
yeah.
But there's a few moments where it was just like he was just talking like this. And I'm like, got it, bought it.
I believed him, I'd say 75% up until the fork moment. Then I 100% believed it. So if they had turned it on its head and he was lying, I would have given so much credit to that fork moment of wow, he really did have his powers, but let himself get stabbed with the fork. Because faking the back pain is one thing, but getting stabbed with the fork would have been hilarious. But either way, it works. Either way, it's good. But that's where I fully bought in. Because she even says, seems human enough to me. I'm like, okay, yeah, he is.
Yeah. But the first part of that question, this one is right in the middle of Q episodes. Not the worst. I mean, there's the pilot, Q-Who's the best.
And then there's the one he's talking about, hiding Q, where he gives the powers to Riker.
Yeah.
I would put this second only behind Q-Who, but I don't even really count Encounter at Farpoint as a Q episode. He's just in it. Q got introduced to us with the show, which is nice, but so putting that aside, I would put this right in the middle. It's better than Hyde and Q, but Q-Who is just like Hyde and Q and this one, Deja Q are right here, and then Q-Who is just way over here. It's not even close.
Yeah, we're comparing S tier and C tier here.
Yeah, exactly. I love a good Q episode. What are y'all's opinions of Q as a recurring force in the show? You would think his endless power would get old, but I think the writers do a great job with him. I would agree thus far. I think, like I said earlier, I hope they don't just do this again. Loses his powers again and get repetitive. I understand that him having this limitless power is pretty hard to write into a show and make sense. I think I've only been able to see up to this point, obviously, but they've done it well so far, and I love that he's a recurring character in the show. He was in the pilot, and he's been here a handful of times since. I hope it continues, and I hope he never overstays his welcome, because it's just a great one, like you said, 1 to 2 times a season, pop in.
1 to 2 times a season, and every time he does, it's such a big, and it's he's the reason, I believe, he's the reason why we stopped, looking at the episode titles before.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, because every time we'd see it, Patron takes so-and-so Q, whatever, it's because we know it's gonna get sport. And in the episode, it's like, oh look, it's Q, but it's like, oh, we already knew that.
Exactly.
But now
And
that
this
we,
one would have been as well.
yeah,
Deja Q.
exactly. But I love how he's a reoccurring force, and I think he's a good use him as a tool to teach a lesson to the crew. I think Q Who's the great example of his lesson. Like, hey, there's terrible things out here, guys. You know, those 100 casualties or whatever. Like, that's nothing compared to what's out there. Like, you guys need to, like, the Borg's out here. You guys need to fucking wake up. And I love the whole idea. Like, okay, he's an overpowering force. What's a different story we can kind of tell? What if there's a story where he loses his powers? It's like, oh, it's a fun idea and concept, but I think it could have been executed better here. But I love Q. Data again proves to be a great companion to explore a guest character. His non-judgmental nature encourages people to open up to him. Even the Rhineland defector almost becomes friends with him.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah, he is the best person to have someone open up to. Yeah.
And to explore a guest character because he doesn't have to like put his own emotions and feelings into it because he doesn't have them. So like he just gets to sit there and be like us basically, like
Yeah.
the character just talked to us.
Yeah, like the blank slate and let the person do all the talking. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's so naturally curious too that he's asking questions that make sense for his character to ask.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. It's a really good point.
Did anyone else notice that Guinan has her own entrance music as she walks into 10 Forward? I never noticed this until a recent rewatch. She even has her own strike music, some sinister bassoons that play in just before she stabs Q with the fork. I didn't say it during the reaction because I was so tuned into the scene, but yes, I did notice that this was one of those episodes where there wasn't a lot of score, and then as soon as Guinan was coming in, it like started playing music, and I was like, oh, we know who this is going to be, and it's her, and then it's like playing this good score, her whole scene, and you know, stand with a fork and everything, and then afterwards it goes back to not much score. So like she literally got her own composition when she came in. That was great.
And she was only in that one scene too. That's fantastic. One of my favorite episodes with a ton of great quotes, and of course the origin of the famous Picard facepalm meme.
Yes.
It was only like on screen for like 2 seconds. Isn't that great?
I guess we got to give it a pass just for that.
Yeah, we gotta give it a pass. I mean, gave us gold.
Die. Only Worf could turn a single word of only 3 letters into such an iconic quote. Eat any good books lately also has to be one of my favorite Q lines. I think it might be my favorite Q line so far.
I'm still laughing thinking about it.
And the die moment with Worf was great. Everything with them back and forth. I just love their antagonistic relationship with him being. And I also like the moment in the hallway when he's taking to the brig where Q's like, "Oh, I should have become a Klingon," you know, instead of a human. And then as Worf's leaving, he's like, "Romulan."
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to see what our patrons have to say, and if they... I don't anticipate anyone to love this as much as us. I'm glad if anyone does, but I think this is a unique thing for us.
I think Alex and Josh will love this one, but I think this episode is fine. It's gonna be like 30. It's gonna be 30 of those, and I'm happy with that. That's fine. You guys don't get it. This was the test. You guys failed.
This was the test. This episode was inspired by Rashomon, an Akira Kurosawa directed film from 1950 that showed reactions to a crime told from the different perspectives of several characters. It was apparently a very difficult episode to shoot, and as a result, several people involved disliked it. Not one of my favorites either, but I do have it ranked as enjoyable. Well, I definitely want to watch that film.
Well, people didn't like making The Shining either, but you know that'll stand the test of time. You know, it sucks. I love that whole idea of like, oh, making this sucks, and then it comes out, and what if it's great? You know what I mean? Or you're having a great time making something, and it comes out and it's shit. You know, I think that whole idea.
I'm sure they had a great time making grown-ups too.
Oh, I'm sure they did. This is one of my favorite episodes for 2 reasons. Firstly, the Ron Jones intro music at the beginning, and number 2, the different versions of the incident. I love portraying Riker as the sex pervert we all know he is. Then him getting totally clocked by Dr. Hector Salamanca. I predict that the target audience will like but not love this one. Because if outside of a couple of fun scenes, mainly the Picard data painting scene, the story is a bit weak with the dumb resolution. 2 episodes in a row with nudity.
I pointed that out, but no, we did love it. I don't think the resolution was dumb. I think it was a little bit once I knew what was going on. Like as soon as Picard began his speech, I figured it out. Like, oh, this guy did it. But I mean, what else would be the answer? Like I'd rather that than an alien come in, or the wife killed him. So I thought it was the best of the situation. And then what else did they say here?
I forgot to mention, you're a dead man, Epgar. A dead man.
Oh yeah.
It's like, okay, all right.
But the story itself is fine. It was more so like I love that plot device, the way to tell the story. The story's very simple. Like it's not maybe that's why I love it too. Like, it's not convoluted. It's not bringing in all these factors. It's a very simple story. That's why I enjoy it.
Yeah. But car data scene, we didn't even mention that. The painting, how funny that was.
Yeah, that was a great hook that had nothing to do with the episode, really,
No,
but it was great.
just fun, but no consequence. Just Data talking about all these great paintings the other two are doing. Oh, it's interesting. Picard offended.
Yeah, Data just glazes these other two paintings and then roasts him. That was awesome.
Oh,
It's just his face, just
yeah, just poor Picard.
we're going to court. Absolutely. I predict you'll love this one. You're right. If only because it allows for a constant stream of beyond belief factor fiction jokes. I don't think we made that many jokes, but I think we were probably just so tuned in. This wasn't a we're checked out, let's start making jokes. Like
Yeah, no,
there
no.
are some scenes we barely talked, and it's going to be very hard to edit. But yeah, we enjoyed it. Also, you've mentioned that you love transitions to the empty holodeck, and this episode has a truly spectacular one. It might be the best.
Yeah, it's probably your favorite shot ever. Well, it ain't no measure of a man. This episode is in my bottom 3 for season 3. Enough said. The season really picks up after this. Moving on. Damn, Colin.
No, Colin.
You were the chosen one.
Colin, I need to know after you watch our reaction and maybe in the discussion, did we change your mind at all? Do you like it anymore? I would be very curious. I like it even less. This is from good old Harry Pothead. I like this episode a lot. The only problem is, quite frankly, huge. Either he is lying and a rapist, or she is lying and trying to, at best, help her husband betray the Federation, and at worst, she's trying to dirty somebody else up in order to keep herself looking clean. I do like the episode, but it is really messed up. I think the episode fails at trying to get across its premise that it's a matter of perspective, because in this situation, it is not. He is a rapist or she is crying wolf in the worst way possible. So here's where I slightly agree. As we already said, some of it goes pretty far in how different it is. That I agree. However, I think that people who would think this are really overlooking that line from Troy. I mean, she literally says it right there. She does not sense any deception from this woman. That means everything the woman is saying is not deceptive. She's literally a living lie detector, right? Like that's what Troy is. And then clearly she believes Riker and knows that Riker didn't do it, and she would sense deception from him too. So that right there, you have to put aside kind of the logical fallacy of, oh, well, one of these people is lying, because you were just told by a character in the show for a fact they are not. And Troy goes on to say, that you're telling the truth and she's telling the truth from your perspectives. That's the point. So like, does it go a little bit too far in how different it is for the sake of the drama and the story? Yes, but I feel like you have to kind of ignore that, or you think Troy is lying, which doesn't make any sense.
Did Troy ever officially say, I don't sense anything from you?
Well, she says that she believes him.
Yeah, just that she believes him. But
I think if she sensed deception,
yeah,
it'd be a
it's
much
like,
bigger problem.
yeah, I think it's best left ambiguous. I mean, I mean, there's stuff that's happened. I mean, this is it literally happened like a day ago, but there's stuff that's happened to me that I'm sure I would remember very wrong.
Yep.
It happens all the time, more often than you think, and you know, even situations as you're in, you're not aware of everything that's happening, and you're gonna misremember things, and especially be left ambiguous. I'm gonna assume Riker did not,
Can't do that, yeah.
yeah,
But you have to remember too, you have to take in the effects of trauma. I mean, this woman, regardless of how moral she is as a person, we don't know. Her husband was just killed presumably, and she thinks it's Riker. That doesn't mean she's lying, but does that subconsciously mess up her memories of that night? Was she drinking alcohol? They're drinking in that room. How much was she
they
drinking?
were drinking. They
How
were.
much is she filling in with her opinions of after this happens? And secondly, eyewitness testimony, like, is terrible. I mean, it's bad that it's even like allowed in court, honestly. I mean, there have been so many studies of, what happened, who was it, and no one freaking remembers, and people are just making shit up. Like, it's terrible. And it's not because people lie, people do lie, but mostly it's because we have shit memories. Like, and it was never described that this species was any different, so I'm going to assume they're the same. Like, humans are bad at short-term memory. We just lie and make things up in our memory. It's kind of scary, actually. Physical evidence is so important because eyewitness testimony can be terrible, even if you're the primary source of the thing, because there's so much bias and stuff. I'm not even talking about lying, just subconsciously that's going to affect it. Again, yes, the episode went a bit far with that, bit dramatized, but overall, I'll accept it.
Is this enough of a courtroom episode for us to enjoy? The only thing I missed was Henry Fonda trying to argue for Riker's innocence.
Yeah, just
Just Henry raising his hand for Riker.
Picard was basically Henry
He
Fonda.
basically was. He basically was. Yeah. I mean, you're telling me that you saw Riker assault this woman through the windows of 2 passing L train cars?
Let's see if there's any
Now I
more.
want to see 12 Angry Men with with Patrick Stewart.
Or just this whole crew.
Yeah, the whole
Are there
crew.
12 of them? I'm trying to think. We can get some
Oh
guests
yeah.
in there.
Oh yeah. We get some people to fill in. The millionth retelling of Kurosawa's Rashomon on network TV. Mid at best. I only read you because you put mid.
I think it's very likely that this Rashomon movie we would really love. I really want to check it out.
Now I do.
We're going to Holodeck Court.
I was looking at that same one. Possibly my favorite courtroom episode of Trek, simply because we get to see everyone's perspective one after another, and I find that fascinating. But it sounds like most people found that format repetitive / boring. What about you? No. I mean, if I watch something like this every single day,
Sure,
I
yeah.
don't. I mean, I haven't seen Rashomon. Maybe we'll watch it, but this was like something I've been missing that I've been wanting to see after a bit. I haven't seen a good mystery in quite a while, and I love the whole multiple perspectives thing. Like I don't know, I like the Knives Out movies and other those newer Murder on the Orient Express type movies, like things like that. You know, I wish I could find some more out there, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because like for me, I do love Knives Out and everything, but for me it's not even like the mystery aspect. It's more so the, you know, I would watch 100 different versions of these same events if as long as they remained interesting, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And to me, we only get to see basically two and a half. You know, I guess you can round it up to three if you include Picard's ending, but they were all very interesting to me. So obviously, 100 of them probably wouldn't be. But yeah, I love that plot device. So I hated it as a teenager, but I learned with you guys to look at some episodes differently now. The Royale, anyone? So I'm curious if my opinion changes on this as well. Let us know, Sam, because we're definitely in the minority. I don't know. I'm praising this one a lot, but would you agree with how much I'm praising it, or did you like it a little bit less, like you just liked it, or
I don't think I loved it as much as you did. I
okay,
enjoyed a lot of it. Like I wasn't at the end like, you know.
like how I was wooing at the end of it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was like, okay, I like that, but it wasn't. I don't know if it's breaking into any S tiers.
Gotcha. So this is probably the one for the season that's like for me the one that I'm gonna really be attached to. But even with you still liking it, it seems that we're in the minority. I would love to know if people's opinions were changed, or even if you still think the same way about the episode. Can you understand or see why we enjoyed it? That interests me a lot more than well, of course it does, what I'm about to say. But it's like when we don't like something and everyone's just sitting there trying to tell us why it's actually good, of course no one's going to like that. But that's what we're doing to them right now. But it is interesting when we really do like something and we're in the minority and we get to hear why people don't. When I don't connect with something, it's not that I'm not interested. My mind can be changed, but it's just much more fascinating to me when it's like, oh, you didn't enjoy this? Let me hear why. But, it's very interesting, which our patrons and YouTube audience, a lot of the time, do have very interesting things to say about the episodes that we really love, but they don't like that. A lot of times it doesn't change my mind, but it's like, oh, wow, that's interesting to think about it that way. So I'm very excited to see what it's going to be a weird week. We got a Q episode we didn't care for much, and we got this one where we loved it and not many people did.
Is that is that the times of what's to come? I don't know.
True. I hope. Oh man, that could get pretty off the rails. But yeah, this is a classic target audience week of Star Trek. Then I
It
think we
really
had one.
is. As much as things change, things stay the same.
Alex and Josh fill the target audience on a cosmic journey, feeling so immense. They're sitting in a room, ready for the show. Star Trek Next Generation, Season 3, let's go! The first time they've seen this sci-fi sight, only going where no man's gone, day and night. Synth-pop beats fill the atmosphere. Their minds are racing, filled with wonder and cheer.
You're a dead man, Apgar. A dead man.